2026 Joy Starters. Hope this finds you well. I am coming to you in this new year as imperfect as I can be. My internet just went off. My kids are about to be out the door to go to Top Golf. I ain't got a stitch of makeup on. I think I got some dark circles underneath my eyes. That's okay, because you know what I'm really marinating on, and I've been talking about with, I feel like she's my right-hand person, my marketing maven, my friend, Kim, that works with I'm Changing the Narrative. With everything, and if you've heard me speak in the last 6 months, you've heard me talk about it, and I was just, as the internet popped back on, some pictures popped up, and it was some of my work with NALI, the National Association of Women in Law Enforcement, and got to speak to 3 different groups of women in law enforcement in the past year and a half, and just absolutely rocked my world, But I've been talking about in my talks on my podcast, this need, this desire to go, so just do it with me right now. Do it with me right now. Ready? One more time. As my friend Lindsay Friesman, who will be at the retreat, which I'll talk about in a minute, it's just this need to go 6 in, hold 2, 6 out. I always keep it real. Okay, that's just my signature. That's who I am. I keep it real. Y'all, during the holiday, we had a really slow holiday on purpose. And as a type A person and somebody who I think I'm probably ADHD, think I was a mild diagnosis in college. So I strongly resemble that comment, that remark. During the holiday, I tried to do everything that I could to let myself be bored, to let myself do nothing, like absolutely nothing, to let myself not do work, to not work on the retreat, to not work on the gala, to not work on my book that is due August 1st. Although I did break that rule just a little bit, and I wrote in one night, in 2 hours, I sat down, y'all, and I wrote for the next book. I wrote close to 1,000 words. And so, but my point is that I really just slowed down, and my brain, my soul, this is how I know this is programmed into me. And I wonder if it's programmed into you too. I've been doing this for so long. I've been hustling for so long. I've been pushing for so long. I've been trying to be, especially being a sportscaster, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, making sure it matters, pressing, pushing, all of those things that it's almost ingrained in my soul. And now I feel like I am in this era, this is my era of my life, where I'm trying to undo all of that. And so I fought against myself, just real talk, mask off. I fought against myself over the holiday to not feel guilty to rest, not feel guilty to nap, not feel guilty to add to my sleep bank, to not feel guilty to do nothing, to allow myself to be bored. And one of the other things that I've been talking about in my talks the last 6 months, and we will talk about it again at the retreat, is just this idea and this return to what people are calling granny hobbies, but they are gardening, knitting, book clubs. I read an article, and I don't know where the place was. I'm going to have to find it, and I'll find it. If I do by the time this podcast launches again, I'll do my best. But it was about, and you could probably search it too, but it was about a place where it was no non-alcoholic bar. They had non-alcoholic beer. They had but it was a non-alcoholic bar. You couldn't bring your phone. You had your phone, but you didn't use your phone. You talked to people, you played board games. And y'all, this article talked about the fact that it was like, there was a waiting list to go to this place, like a long waiting list to go to this place. People are craving the slowdown, even if we don't know what to do with it. Even if we don't quite know how to slow down yet. Okay, so we're just practicing the okay. The other thing that people are craving, and how I started this podcast, is people, and I was having the conversation with Kim about this, is people are, with all that AI is, people are craving real. They are craving authentic. They are, when we can't even figure out what's AI and what's not. We need real you showing up in ways that are just the most authentic and beautiful and imperfect, and jumping on my first podcast of the year, not to come on here and say, yeah, rah, where are all your resolutions, and how many times have you been in the gym, and what are you doing? And no, just to come on here and say, I'm learning how to unwind. I'm learning how to do nothing. I'm learning how to be bored again. And I'm allowing myself, I don't even think I'd cry. I cried every day, but I didn't think I'd cry today. I'm allowing myself the space to do that. Because what I know in 2026 is people need real. They need authentic. They don't need fake. Hell, we can't even tell if it's your AI twin or whatever. I mean, I'm seeing people post these things and, and all that. And here's the other thing about AI. Let me tell you the ugly truth about AI. I use it for certain things just to, to cut down on time. But the ugly truth about AI is the amount of pollution and the amount of water that these data centers take. So every single time, and I've talked about this before, but every single time a 13-year-old boy or whoever it is says, make me a woman with 3 boobs to AI, yeah, that's the resources that we are using. So every single time I use it, I try not to use it frivolously. I try not to use it in a way that doesn't make sense, that I could do the work on my own. I try to be mindful of that. And speaking of that, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, or you happen to see a video of this later on, y'all, these earrings were made from poacher's snares. I got to speak at a place that I had to sign an NDA in 2025. And it was amazing. And little Rachel, she was going nuts. And I bought them there. And I just love it how something so ugly and gross and terrible and horrible and tragic are being made into something beautiful, giving people an ability to create and earn an income. But I will say the other side of AI is I did read a good story the other day, and the good story talked about the fact that AI is using heat-seeking data technology, and they've all but eradicated poaching in certain areas of Africa. How about them apples? Pretty amazing, huh? And with all the sadness and the heaviness of this world, I have made it in this undoing, unletting of my soul, which I hope you'll follow me and you'll do the same thing. I've been really mindful to also make sure I'm consuming good news as well. And I follow a couple of accounts that are talking about good news around the world. Snow leopard in India is making a comeback, that our ozone is healing right now. Heck yes, that that they're catching poachers. Like, all these good things are happening, that these entities that I donate to are cleaning up massive amounts of trash in the ocean. So there's a lot of good things happening. So listen to me if you're relating to what I'm saying, this. Remember to fill that beautiful brain and that beautiful soul with good news too. Okay. That was the longest, by the way, soliloquy, opening monologue, whatever you want to call it. This first episode of 2026. And I did bury the lead, and I am going to cry now. I buried in good. Was given this at one of my dear friend's funerals by one of my best guy friends. He and his wife are both best friends of mine. And it stays with me. I have to wash it every once in a while. So yeah, I've been burying the lead. Now that it is 2026, we are celebrating 10 years of I'm Changing the Narrative. 10 years. 10 years. And I want to read you a message that I got from one of my kings the other day, just to demonstrate. And there are thousands of these stories, y'all, thousands of these stories and I remember after I went to Pitt this summer, and I've been to Pitt 2 or 3 times, one of the gals said to me, she was driving me to the airport. She said, how do you keep up with all of the athletes and all the ones that are going to text you today? And, and I said, here's the reality of it. Some only need me for a moment in time. Some only need me to solve a problem, to answer a question. Some only need me for a sliver. And that doesn't make it any less meaningful, any less important, any less purposeful. It just means they needed me in that moment. And in that moment, on that day, when they message me, we deal with their problem, we talk through it, whatever it is. But there are some athletes and people. I had a beautiful gal named Karen, who heard me speak this year and just messaged me and said, I'm in. What do you want? Like, what do you need from me? I'll serve. I'll go anywhere. I'll do anything. And, but some people will walk down the road with me. We will walk down the road together. And I'm grateful for that too. There's not one that's more significant than the other. Of course, the more time you have together, you build a relationship that's significant. But my soul is good, and I'm good with. Here am I, Lord, send me. Whatever you need me for, I'll be there. Of course, I want to see your babies be born. Of course, I want to go to your weddings. Of course, I want to, have a long-term relationship with you. But that's okay if not. So I want to read you this. This is from one of my kings that I met 4 or 5 years ago. And this was on Christmas. No, this was after Christmas, right before New Year's. And New Year's Eve, New Year. Love and miss you, Queen. You taught me to reach out to those you care about and never waste a second telling them. I said, I love you so much. This means more to me than you'll ever know. How are you, King? I am well, doing the best I've ever done. Life's been looking up for me a lot, honestly. Of course, my tremendous support staff is credit to that, but I'm doing very well as of late. How are you? Tell me more. I want to know. This makes my heart so happy. He said, I'm just genuinely happy with my life. Of course, there's always more we want out of life, but that's what milestones are for, and I'm still young enough to reach everything. I've just been doing a better job of staying present, keeping my God at the center of everything I do and allowing everything to fall into place. When we focus on just being a great person in life, our Lord blesses us along the way. I also think I found my person. We've been serious for about 5 months now, and I'm allowing it to play out. If it's meant to be, it'll be. If not, then we regroup and continue on our path separately. I said, yes, and yes. He said, I struggle with the most overthinking and just wanting people around me who are genuine. And I said, honestly, I think most of us struggle with overthinking. There are very few people in the world who do not overthink situations. I hope it helps you to know that there are many of us who struggle with the same thing. One thing that has helped me tremendously is to learn to talk to myself. And my friend Damon, the coffee bean, taught me this, to talk to myself instead of listening to myself. When I start that, I say, I'm a child of God. I'm okay. I'm loved. I'm precious. I am valuable. And he said, yes, ma'am, you are so loved, precious, and valued. You're the best. Thank you for continuing to be there for me after all these years. Genuine relationships mean the most to me, so thank you for always being there. And I said, I mean what I say. And when I told you I'd be there for you, I meant it for life. One day I'm going to attend your wedding. One day I'm going to hold your children. And when you reached out to me in your toughest time, that's when I knew how strong our bond was. Y'all, he had a mental health crisis. And I was able to be there for him, and some people from the school reached out to me, and the head coach, and we tag teamed, and all weighed in on what was best for this young man. And so I am so grateful that he allowed me to do that in that moment. And so I love you. And that's just one of many stories. And y'all, this is it. This is what I want to tell you. I want to tell you three more things, and I'm done with this shorter episode. Is that this whole year, we're going to be celebrating 10 years of I'm Changing the Narrative. 10 years. 10 years. When I started this in 2016, there was no way I could ever foresee this. I could ever foresee the places we'd go and the things we'd do and the lives we would change. One of my OG kings at FSU, the first place I spoke 10 years ago, he is going to do a podcast with me. So this whole entire year, we're going to be celebrating I'm Changing the Narrative. Stories of people I've reached out to, stories that people that have affected me, people that have come across my path, former athletes, people I've taught. It doesn't have to be, we're just going to be celebrating it for a year. We're going to be celebrating it for a year. Okay? And the story I wanted to tell you is this. And let me say this before I tell the story. I'm Changing the Narrative is a movement. I'm Changing the Narrative is an attitude. I'm changing the narrative on my life. I'm changing the narrative on how I do things. And one of the things that I teach y'all is to be audacious, is to be bold. And because of that, there are people that are out there that I really admire, and you're going to hear from them in the next couple of weeks I've taught you this, right? And I'm going to teach you again, the audacious hour. I learned to just be audacious and go for it and say, hey, I'm a former national sportscaster. I have a podcast. It's successful. It's very successful. I would love to have you on. I love what you're doing. The worst they can say is no. And these two people, and I'll introduce them more over the next 2 weeks, said yes. And so there's not only me talking about the experiences that I've had through I'm Changing the Narrative and former people that I've touched and they've touched me and all of those things on I'm Changing the Narrative, but the lessons that I've learned to be audacious. And you want to know what the audacious hour is? You ready for this? Spend 1 hour each week, even if it's 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, but 1 hour total being audacious, writing that audacious blog, that audacious email, your audacious book, your audacious, asking somebody out, your audacious telling somebody you're sorry and you love them and forgiving yourself and going, like we talked about, right? And letting yourself just be, okay? Audacious. So this whole year of I'm Changing the Narrative, this whole year of 10 years, I can't even contain. We're going to have people on. We're going to live out the things we're teaching. We're going to celebrate for a year. 2 more things. The overthinking thing. I went to a school that's had me in 4 or 5 times in 10 years, y'all. Small school. Had me in Rochester. Love you, Rochester football. University of Rochester. They've had me in many, many times. And I adore and love them. And there was a player, and the longer I'm doing this, the rawer it gets. And that's beautiful. And there was a player that was at the front of the room. And I'll never forget this. And he said, raised his hand. He was a young player. And he said, Miss Rachel, I struggle with overthinking. And he was on the first or second row. And I said, would anybody in here who struggles with overthinking be bold enough to raise their hand? Well, the reality is, y'all, about 75% of the room raised their hand. And I had them keep their hand up, okay? And I said, okay, friend, turn around. And he turned around and saw that 75% of his teammates also had an issue with overthinking, y'all. There's strength in numbers. There's strength to understand that you're not alone. There's strength in saying, you know what? I couldn't rest and relax. I could, but it was harder for me. And I'm learning how to unwind. I'm learning how to not hustle. I'm learning how to savor culture over hustle culture. I want to do the rest of my life differently than I've done it before. In that moment, I'll never see him again. He's not somebody that I kept in touch with. But I made an impact in his life, and his teammates made an impact in his life by being his sacred space holder. And him looking around and realizing, I'm not alone, and you're not alone. You're not alone. And the last thing is this, y'all. I promised you up until the retreat, which is now 48, I think, days away, somewhere in the 40s when you listen to this podcast, whenever it is. I promised you that I would give you a behind the scenes look on what this looks like to put yourself out there. And this one's even more, how do I describe it? It's in a town that I'm newish. I wasn't raised here. My husband is, his children are here. My stepchildren are here. I'm not from here. It would be easy for me to go do an event in Birmingham, or go do an event in Nashville, or go do an event in Atlanta. Born in Atlanta, spent time in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa. It would be easy for me to do an event in Nashville. But I wanted to do something here in Nassau County, Fernandina, Amelia Island, Yulee. And I put myself out there, y'all. And if you've ever watched the movie Field of Dreams, if you build it, he will come. If you build it, they will come. He was willing to look really, really stupid, and also to mow over all his corn to do what he felt like he was called to do. And that was his source of income. And so as we approach the retreat, which I'm so jacked for, the people that have signed up for the retreat, people that are coming for the gala, and the people that have helped, the people that are stepping in to help. Kim and I talked about her at the very beginning of she produces this podcast. Thank you, Kim. She has said to me 2 or 3 times, you must be getting so excited. It's all coming together. And I said, I am. Like, people saying yes to hosting us, people saying yes to sponsorships, people saying yes, that know one of our speakers that said yes to coming, people that I know that have invested in themselves that are coming from across the country. Like I don't take any of it lightly. And I'm like a kid. I remember when I was in junior high and I was going to Six Flags with my neighbor's family, and I couldn't sleep the night before. I was so excited. That's how I feel, y'all. If you build it, they will come. But I have to tell you, there are many times over the past year that we've been planning this thing that I've been afraid, wondering, because the reality is I have planned events. There was a time about 7-8 years ago, 7-ish years ago, with a very well-known person. Thought we did everything right. And I planned this event. It was in Columbus, Georgia, one of the places I've called home. It was right over the river in Phoenix City. And my friends came, y'all, and everything was done right. We had entertainment. And many people wouldn't tell you these stories, but I'm telling you. We had entertainment. We had food. We had alcohol donated. If you didn't imbibe, it was like done to the max. 15 people showed up. And I was mortified. My friends showed up and they smiled and they supported me. But I remember going to the bathroom and saying, what are you trying to teach me, God? And looking back, I don't know. It's one of those things where I think I'll just have to wait till I get to heaven to answer that one. Maybe I was operating out of my own ego. Maybe I was trying to do it on my own. Maybe I wasn't involving God enough. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know God was in control and he used that. Maybe he used it to make this one even more sweet. I don't know. But I'm telling you that sometimes you have to look stupid. Sometimes in the 10 years, you have to plan things. You have to put your neck out there and fall flat on your face to get to 10 years, to get to an event where you feel the momentum, you feel people coming, you feel it's going to be beautiful. So listen to me. All of this to circle back and in this podcast was saying, I don't have resolutions. I just have ways in which I hope you'll live. And one of them is, I hope you'll live fully this year. I hope you'll go and do the thing. Chase your dreams. Live fully. I hope you'll be audacious. I hope you'll go. I hope you'll have enough courage to start your own I'm changing the narrative. And whether that is breaking generational curses in your family, bettering yourself, starting a nonprofit, starting a side hustle, stepping out, moving, leaving, staying, repairing. I don't know what your thing is, but I'm right behind you and I'm cheering wildly and loudly for you. I love y'all. I should have known it was going to get like this. I should have known. Whew. I love you so much. And I'm so dang grateful for you. Happy tears, grateful tears. All the 10 years. Happy birthday. I'm changing the narrative. We're saying it for a whole year. Happy 10 years. I'm changing the narrative. Love you guys. As always, one last thing. Please like, subscribe, share. If you know somebody who could use this, a blubbering mess. If you know somebody who could use this, please share this with them. Also, a review and subscribing and liking helps tremendously. And if you are at the last minute, want to join us, there are 40-something days until the retreat. We still have very few spots left. And so if that's something you want to do or you want to come for the ball on Saturday night, that is separate from the retreat, and those tickets will sell out. There is a hard number for the fire code and the different groups and the way we're advertising and all the different things that will sell out. And so I just believe it because I know God's leading me. And I believe it. I believe it. I know it. If you build it, they will come. But all the information is below in the show notes. Love you guys.